Want to hear a really crazy story? Yeah. An Alabama inmate was baked to death in an Alabama prison cell. People say, how was he baked to death? Was he tasered? I mean, that's one way. No. He was baked to death like when if you were to walk into like a furnace, you will be baked to death. That kind of baked to death. Let's get to the video.
Story out of Alabama. An inmate, an incarcerated individual, a human being, literally baked to death because of negligence. Criminal negligence, in my opinion. Let's put up this picture full mass here.
That's CMN right there.
As you know, we have been covering prisons all across this country, specifically Alabama. You're looking at Mr. Thomas Lee Rutledge. Very sad background, very sad thing. A federal lawsuit has been filed on behalf of Rutledge, a former Alabama prison inmate who died after being subjected to extreme heating in his cell. Per a report from AL.com, that is an Alabama outfit. Family members and advocates have long been fighting for the human rights of Alabama inmates after the egregious prison conditions were revealed. An updated complaint was filed in U.S. District Court 2 weeks ago, alleging Rutledge, 44 years of age, died of hypothermia in December 2020. But how could someone die of hyperthermia when their complaints are about extreme heat? His lawyers argued the officials at William E. Donaldson Correctional Facility disregarded the issue with the heating system in the mental health.
Hyperthermia, that's something you get like if you're out in extreme cold, you get hypothermia because the water and the contents, you're so out of breath. Dehydration is good when you die from lack of water. It's called that's called another word for thirst. And when you're out in hot water, you die of dehydration, especially in extreme elements. Like if you're in a tropical environment with 100 plus degrees, with humidity to match, yeah, you're going to die from dehydration in less than 2 days. But how does a person die from hypothermia and extreme heat? That's crazy.
Section of the jail. Per the suit, other men had died from extreme heat due to the broken heater, causing them to bake to death.
Broken heater.
They claimed occurred in the case of Mr. Rutledge. One corrections investigator, Clark Hooper, recalled the unbearable temperature in the room when he once went to speak to Rutledge. Here's a quote. When he dropped his meal door, it was just, pardon the language, but it was hotter than 3 hells when it dropped. Let me pause on this for a moment, because I need you to understand what this means. A meal door is small. Okay?
It is.
It is designed so that only a small tray.
Meal doors, they call the pie flap, as well too.
It was so damn hot that when Mr. Rutledge opened this small opening, the heat felt so hot to the investigator, to the corrections investigator, that he said he could feel that it was hotter than 3 hells. So imagine what this brother was going through inside of that jail cell. There's more. He said per the report,
imagine, 3 hours in hell. You open up the meal door, and it's just a little one. You imagine that inmate in that cell. He probably was roasting. I mean, he was becoming a burnt piece of chicken. That's what he was coming in there.
This isn't the first complaint about extreme heat in that facility. The lawsuit cites multiple complaints by the director of mental health services. So literally, the contractors complained. Multiple inmates complained about the temperatures a year before the death of Mr. Rutledge. Yet nothing was done. Now you have gross negligence. Gross negligence is actionable.
Yes, it is.
That means you have a civil action possible now, and you also have potentially a criminal dynamic because of the gross negligence of this staff. They have a duty, a responsibility to care, to provide appropriate functions to assist with inmates. They did not. Literal horror stories have come out of Alabama prisons by the inmates themselves. We have covered multiple. Starvation, work conditions, overcrowding, and now overheating make it seem as though the inmates are being subject to one huge, cruel, and unusual experiment on ways to kill someone.
Yeah.
The Department of Justice has
They
since
figure, we'll just
before
rig the
Judge
heat
Proctor
system and
in
we'll just
concern
fry
with
them
these
alive.
conditions. Families have been waiting years now for the case to be heard. If you recall one particular case, Mr. Vaughn, you remember Mr. Vaughn? Mr. Vaughn went viral on social media because his sister had a picture of him from the prison in Alabama where he looked deceased. He did not even look alive in the picture. That picture went viral. We reached out directly to the sister, spoke with the sister. By that weekend, we had a private investigator and civil rights attorneys in Alabama. Not only were we able to reach Mr. Vaughn, talk to Mr. Vaughn directly, even though the jail would not allow him to talk to his family before we got involved, we were able to connect him with his family, and we got him removed from that facility. I am happy to report he's doing much better today. The last picture I saw of him, he actually gained significant weight, and his sister posted, praise God. Now let me say this. Cruel and unusual punishment is against the law. You have a constitutional right against that. Why do you believe Alabama seems to be the habitual offender as it relates in particular to black men inside of their prison system? Okay, we're going to continue to follow this, obviously. I do believe more complaints are coming. Dan, thoughts here?
I'm glad we're following this, and it's a special kind of journalism where not only are we covering the story, we're exposing the facts of it, but you're also going the extra step of once you have the media attention, it seems that, okay, now all of a sudden things start moving by in this case. Now, of course, like what you're talking about, hotter than 3 hells here. Like, people complain when it's, you know, the temperatures are warmer, when you reach like record temperatures in the city whenever time, or whatever your town, whenever you're walking around. This is absolutely cruel and unusual punishment. Perhaps the only cynical argument against it would be saying that this has become too usual within our so-called criminal justice system. Of course, it's happening a lot in Alabama, and a lot in the South, and a lot happening to people of color all around, like, in those areas. But we're seeing it happen in places like Rikers. We're seeing it happen on the West Coast as well, where these are cruel conditions, where the fact is naturally given that, okay, well, if we keep people in these close conditions where it's really hot, where diseases spread very quickly, then you're probably going to have some deaths. And that has been factored into the calculus because, as we've said before, as is emphasized on the show a lot, we do not have a rehabilitation system in this country. We have a recidivism and a torture system in this country. And moreover than that, a lot of it has been privatized and turned into a profit-making venture. So this is just one anecdote of many that we need to have in our tool belts when we say we need to destroy this system and make it better, because at bare minimum, like, you're incarcerated. You are suffering enough at that point, right? Like, you are doing your time. The least we should do is, like, torture you while you're there. You should be able to expect a time to be able to come out.
Yeah. All right, we will continue to follow.
You know, it's crazy before I touch up for a guy here. You know, the problem is, too, is, you know, many of these prisons are built in, like, the South, like down in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and even Florida. A lot of these prisons were built in the 60s and 70s, and they don't have air conditioning in it as well. And you get summertime temperature to 90s and the triple digits, and you got humidity is just jacked up. I mean, you go outside in the summertime, your dew point's like in the 70s, like that. And you got inmates are complaining it's so hot in there. And the problem with the prison system, they don't give these inmates any fan. They don't have air conditioning. So they expect us, well, just suck it up and tough it out. Yeah. Especially when you got a cell that's over triple digits in there and it's hotter than 3 hells like that. Crazy. Anyways, I'm out here. My job. Peace out.